Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of our podcast. I'm Jake.
And I'm Lena. We're so happy to have you here with us today.
If you're here to improve your English listening skills and expand your vocabulary, you're in the right place. Stick with us until the end, and I promise you'll get better at understanding natural, real-life conversations.
That's right. And we're going to make it fun. So, let's not waste any time and jump right into today's topic.
We've all been there. We buy things with the best intentions, thinking they'll change our lives, but then we never actually use them. It always starts with an exciting idea. We imagine ourselves becoming this new, improved version of who we are. All thanks to that one item. But as time goes by, reality sets in and the excitement fades, leaving us with something we don't even remember we own.
Oh, I love this topic. We've all done it. We buy something, thinking it's going to change our lives, and then it just sits there, collecting dust. At first, we tell ourselves we just need the right moment to start using it. We keep making excuses. I'll start next week, or I just need to find the time. But deep down, we know we'll probably never get around to it.
Exactly. And let's start with the classic one. Exercise equipment. This is one of the biggest offenders when it comes to things we buy but never use. It starts with a strong motivation. Maybe we see a great deal online, or we get inspired by a fitness influencer. We tell ourselves, this is it. This is my new lifestyle. But then a few months later, it turns into a clothes hanger, hidden in the corner of the room, completely forgotten.
Oh no. Are we going there? Because I have some personal experience with this.
We have to. I mean, who hasn't bought a treadmill or a set of dumbbells thinking they'll work out every day? It's such a common trap. The idea of having a home gym sounds amazing. No need for a gym membership. No excuses to skip a workout. But somehow, life gets in the way, and that brand new treadmill becomes nothing more than an expensive decoration.
Guilty. I once bought a yoga mat and some resistance bands, thinking I'd start every morning with a workout. I even watched a bunch of YouTube videos on the best at-home workout routines. I was fully convinced that I would stick to it and finally get in shape.
I already know the answer.
Twice. Just twice. And now, they're in the corner of my room, completely forgotten. Every time I see them, I feel a little guilty, but not guilty enough to actually use them. Instead, I just promise myself that one day I'll give it another try.
See, this happens to everyone. And it's not just fitness stuff. What about kitchen gadgets? We always think that buying a new gadget will somehow make cooking easier or more fun. But most of the time, these things just end up taking up space in our cabinets.
Oh wow, I have so many. Like that avocado slicer. Because apparently, cutting an avocado with a knife wasn't good enough. I thought it would make the process so much easier, but it turns out I could do the exact same thing with a regular knife in half the time.
Wait, you actually bought one of those?
Yes, and I used it maybe once. I also have a popcorn maker, a juicer, and a waffle iron that I've probably used 3 times in my life. At the time, they all seemed like great purchases. But the reality is, I usually just grab a bag of popcorn from the store, drink juice from a carton, and eat waffles only when I go out for breakfast.
That's the thing. We always think we'll use these things regularly, but we don't. The excitement of buying them is often greater than the excitement of actually using them. We imagine ourselves living this perfect, organized, and productive life. But in the end, nothing really changes.
What about clothes? I have so many things in my closet that I bought, convinced I'd wear them all the time. But they still have the tags on them. I see them every time I open my closet, and yet I never actually wear them. I just keep telling myself that I'll find the right occasion someday.
Oh, totally. I have a pair of shoes that I thought were super cool when I bought them. They looked amazing in the store, and I was convinced they'd be my new favorite pair. But after wearing them once, I realized they were uncomfortable, and now they just sit in my closet, untouched.
We tell ourselves, I'll wear this on a special occasion. But guess what? The special occasion never comes. And even if it does, by that time, we've probably changed our minds about the outfit anyway. It's like a never-ending cycle of buying things we think we'll use, and then forgetting about them.
So why do we do this? Why do we buy things and never use them? Is it just impulsive shopping? Or is there something deeper behind it?
I think we love the idea of a new lifestyle. When we buy a blender, we imagine ourselves making healthy smoothies every morning. When we buy a treadmill, we picture ourselves running 5 miles a day. The problem is, buying something doesn't automatically change who we are or how we behave. It's easy to get excited about the idea of a new habit, but actually sticking to it is another story.
But then reality kicks in, and we realize that changing habits is much harder than just buying things. The truth is, habits take effort, consistency, and discipline. A new purchase might give us a temporary boost of motivation, but if we're not truly committed, it won't last. We fall back into our old routines, and the new item just becomes another thing we don't use. Next topic is something I think we can all relate to: shopping regrets. We've all been there. You see something that looks amazing, you convince yourself that you need it, and then reality hits. You realize it wasn't as great as you thought. Maybe it doesn't fit. Maybe it's useless. Or maybe it was just way too expensive. Either way, that feeling of regret slowly creeps in.
Oh no, I already feel a little embarrassed thinking about all the bad purchases I've made in my life. Sometimes I wonder what was going through my mind when I hit buy now or handed over my credit card. It's funny how in the moment, something can seem like the best decision ever, but later, you just shake your head at yourself. And let's be honest, some of these mistakes are just downright hilarious.
Same here. We all have those moments when we buy something and later wonder, why did I even get this? And the worst part? Sometimes we try to justify it. Oh, maybe I'll use it someday. Spoiler alert, that day never comes. And then it just sits there, collecting dust, reminding you of your poor choices.
Okay, let's start with a personal story. Jake, what's the worst shopping decision you've ever made?
Oh, I have a great one. A couple of years ago, I bought this super expensive leather jacket. I saw it in a store, and it looked amazing. I imagined myself looking cool, walking down the street like a movie star. You know, that effortless, stylish look that some people pull off so well. I was convinced that this jacket was going to change my entire vibe.
Oh no, let me guess. You never wore it.
Exactly. It was too tight, too heavy, and honestly, not even my style. It just sat in my closet for years until I finally gave it away. Every time I looked at it, I felt a little guilty. I even tried wearing it a couple of times, but it just didn't feel right. It was one of those purchases where I wanted to be someone I wasn't, and it totally backfired.
Classic mistake. I've done something similar. I once bought these really fancy high heels. They looked gorgeous, but they were the most uncomfortable shoes ever. I couldn't even walk properly in them. I remember standing in the store thinking, these are going to make me look so elegant. But the reality? My feet were in agony the second I put them on.
So, did you ever wear them?
Just once. I wore them to a wedding, and by the end of the night, I was walking barefoot. It was so painful. I had to carry them in my hands while I hobbled around. Everyone kept asking me if I was okay, and I just smiled through the pain. After that, they went straight to the back of my closet, never to be worn again.
That's the worst. But let me tell you about an even bigger mistake I made. Late-night online shopping. You know how dangerous that can be, right? You're lying in bed, half asleep, just scrolling through your phone. Everything looks amazing, and your brain convinces you that you need it. There's something about late-night impulse buying that just makes everything seem like a brilliant idea.
Oh no, that's dangerous. What happened?
I was half asleep, scrolling through my phone, and I saw this amazing deal on a smartwatch. It looked like a top brand, but it was way too cheap. I thought I had found a hidden treasure. The description made it sound like the best thing ever, and the pictures looked convincing. I didn't even hesitate, I just bought it right away.
Let me guess. It was a scam?
Yep. When it arrived, it was this weird plastic thing that barely worked. The screen was fake, just a sticker. I was so mad at myself for not checking the details properly. The worst part? The return policy was a joke. They wanted me to pay for shipping it back to some random warehouse overseas, which would have cost more than the actual watch.
That's awful. But honestly, online shopping can be so tricky. I once ordered a sweater that looked super cozy in the pictures. It had that oversized, soft look that I love. But when it arrived, it was so thin I could see through it. I couldn't believe it. It felt like they had just stitched together some cheap fabric scraps and called it a sweater.
Oh, wow. That's why we should always check the reviews before buying something online. Reviews are lifesavers. I've learned my lesson the hard way. Never trust the product pictures alone. Always read what other people say. If there are tons of complaints, that's a big red flag. And if there are only glowing 5-star reviews, that can be suspicious too. Sometimes it's just better to wait and think before making a purchase. So, Lena, let me ask you something. Have you ever bought something and then regretted it later?
Oh, absolutely. I used to be a bit of an impulsive shopper. I would buy things just because they were on sale, thinking I would need them someday. The idea of saving money on a discount tricked me into believing it was a smart choice. But guess what? Most of those things just sat in my closet, untouched, gathering dust. Eventually, I realized that most of those purchases weren't necessary at all, and I could have saved both space and money by being more mindful.
I can totally relate. It's funny how we convince ourselves that we need something when, in reality, we don't. Sometimes it's just the excitement of shopping that makes us act impulsively. You see a cool gadget or a trendy outfit, and for a moment, it feels like you can't live without it. But a few weeks later, you look at it and wonder why you even bought it in the first place. That's how people end up hoarding unnecessary things, filling their homes with clutter instead of useful possessions.
Exactly. And that brings us to our main topic today: minimalism versus hoarding. Some people love keeping things just in case, believing they might need them someday, even if that day never comes. It's a mindset driven by fear of scarcity, which makes it really difficult for them to let go. On the other hand, some people prefer to live with as few possessions as possible, focusing only on what truly brings value to their lives. For them, less is more, and they feel happier when they are surrounded by fewer distractions.
Right. Minimalism is all about living with only what you truly need. It can make life less stressful and more organized. When you have fewer things, you spend less time cleaning, organizing, and searching for misplaced items. It gives you mental clarity and freedom. But on the other hand, some people feel a strong emotional attachment to objects, which makes it hard for them to let go of things. These objects may hold sentimental value, reminding them of special moments, loved ones, or past experiences.
Yeah, I think many people don't realize that hoarding isn't just about keeping a lot of stuff. It's often linked to emotions, memories, nostalgia, or even fear of needing something in the future. Some people hold on to things because they associate them with happiness, success, or personal history. The idea of throwing something away can feel like losing a part of themselves. That's why decluttering can be such an emotional process for some people.
That's true, and I have to say, I admire minimalists. They don't have clutter in their lives, and they always know where everything is. They don't waste time looking for things or feel overwhelmed by a messy space. It must be refreshing to live in an environment where everything has a purpose and nothing is there just for the sake of keeping it. It allows them to focus on experiences rather than material possessions.
Same here. But I wouldn't call myself a full minimalist. I still like to keep some sentimental things. There are items that remind me of special people or unforgettable experiences, and I don't think I could ever part with them. At the same time, I try not to let them pile up. I believe in keeping things that truly bring me joy, rather than holding on to everything just because it has some connection to my past. What about you?
I try to be minimalist, but I have my weak spots. Books, for example. I find it really hard to give them away. Every book I own feels like a treasure, and even if I've already read it, I always think I might want to read it again. I also love the idea of building a personal library. There's something comforting about being surrounded by books, even if I don't get around to reading all of them. Letting go of them feels like losing a piece of knowledge or a memory.
Oh, books are a tough one. I understand that completely. I also have a small collection of books that I treasure and can't bring myself to donate. But overall, I think a balance is important. You don't have to throw away everything, but you also don't need to keep things that don't add value to your life. The key is to be intentional with what you own. Only keep things that serve a purpose or bring you happiness. That way, you avoid clutter without feeling deprived or regretful. So, if you're listening to this, let us know. What's something you bought but never use? Leave a comment below.
And don't forget to check out the description box. There's a playlist with more of our podcast episodes for you to enjoy.